Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Richard Coughlin, and today I have to make a confession. I am a rapeist. I've had to hide that fact from everyone I know and my friends and family and work colleagues for the last 4 years of my life. I've had to live with this secret bottled up inside of me. I recently came onto YouTube and I had accidentally stumbled across this, and someone said there's this whole online community that they mentioned, people just like me. You know, people who, like me, have felt ashamed. They've had to live their lives in shaming, and they're too scared to say anything or speak out of guilt or fear. But I feel now, I've looked at this, the way things are at the moment, and I feel like I've finally found a place that I can come here and be proud of myself. And I'm here to join the YouTube Rapeist community. In the country I live in, you know, most people are brought up to believe in one religion. It takes up most of the population, which is called consenteeism. This is the belief that, you know, people should consent to doing activities with other people, particularly ones that are of somewhat of a private nature. 93% of the population of this country are in some form or another a consenteeist or a believer in some denomination of consenteeism. The two predominant ones are the submissive consenteists or subcons. These are people who believe that the only true pleasure and joy you can get from life can only be achieved if your lives are lived being treated like shit and ruled over, and deliberately, your life is being made more difficult, painful and degrading and unrewarding as possible. But they are allowed to be able to sort of stop if it gets too painful. They have what's called the safety word of God, which is Oklahoma. Interesting. And then the other one, interesting obviously, is the dominatrix consenteists, or domcons as they're called. Their life is dedicated to punishing and degrading the subcons without remorse or any regret or guilt. And they only stop when the safety word is mentioned. But this is where now it sounds quite convenient, like if they were both made at the same time, but they actually both formed accidentally. Now this is where the sort of seeds of doubt of my faith came in, because I noticed that there was a dispute going on where the safety word for the domcons, it was Oklahoma, but they'd had a it was supposed to be Oklahoma, but no one really knew what happened, but their Bible that they had a misprint and it was Oklahoma. There became this big, they weren't stopping people, they were shouting Oklahoma, but they weren't stopping beating people. This is where the essence came in, because I started noticing about in my 20s that so many of human conflicts and wars and and just horrible things that we do are caused by consenteeism. I mean, but with the domcons and the subcons, they both do believe that the Messiah, or the Messiah, which is Jesus Christ, and that they believe he is our Lord and Shaver. But the subs, they see, again, this is the problem with the weird translations. The subcons believe that when he finally returns to Earth, it will be the second coming, but the domcons believe it will be the second bumming. Of who we don't know. That's going to be sort of the surprise, I guess. It led to a lot of sectarianism, particularly in places like Northern Ireland. The Doms like to take their orders and they like to listen to whatever is being translated to them from God by Pope Francis, who delivers his Siemens from the Vatican. And the subs don't do that. They have a different Pope, Pope Benedict, who comes from the Vatican. And it was around this time when I was looking at all this, I started to realise that I looked into it and I realised there were like thousands of different types of consenteeism, as well as those two, but there were some really odd ones I found. There was like the Mormon Church, which is more men, it's basically just a load of slags. There was the Church of Scatology, which it's called like it's referred to as more of an extreme cult, but in all fairness, it's just like every other religion. It just does nothing but spoon feed you your own shit. I mean, then you've got the Westboro Baptist Church, basically just a bunch of wankers. And then you look at abroad like the Middle East, and you've got all these conflicts, like the conflict between Israel and Palestine, over the disputed best wank. A wank's a wank, it's all good. So it seemed to me eventually that consenteeism was actually it was not a religion of peace. It was one of conflict and war, and one that would lead to ultimately our demise. And there were so many of these different religions, I thought, well, they can't all be right, but they can all be wrong, can't they? So what does that make me? I didn't know what this was. I never dealt with this before. I never dealt with the idea. I've never met anyone who didn't believe in this stuff. So I went online, looked it up, and it turned out that people who reject consenteeism are what's known as rapeists. And I was scared, because then I remembered that word, because I was taught as a kid that rapeists are evil people with no moral compass, and all they want to do is just sin and commit pain and hurt people. And then I looked up the full definition of rapeist in the dictionary, the dictionary definition, obviously, of rapist, and it's right, it's true. We are, that is the definition, we are sick, evil people with no moral compass who just want to commit sin and hurt people with absolutely no regret. So I thought, well, you know, but the nail in the coffin really, when I finally caved in and said, I'm letting this go, I ended up reading a few books that had become quite popular and they were in the press, and I realised these were what convinced me about my beliefs were irrational and delusional. I read several of the very popular books on rapeism, written by the sort of what were known as the new rapeists. You know, there was Richard Pawkins with the knob delusion. Then there was, Christopher Kitchens with, knob is not great, how your jism poisons everything. And then there was, of course, Sperm Harris, who wrote Letter to a Fisting Nation. And I sat there like my life was a lie. The consent was a lie. And it made me very angry and resentful, and over the time it's built up inside me. Now I want to don't want to hold it in, I want to challenge it. I'm sick of having to listen to it. I think all forms of consenteeism should and must be challenged with, as aggressively and as militantly as possible. They should be destroyed. We need to try and stop consenteeism being taught in the classroom. Because I think teaching kids the concept of consent is child abuse, because the truth is, rapeism is the default position. It's a fact. In fact, all babies are rapeists. They are. Think about it, right? A baby, right, it comes out of a woman's vagina, it destroys it, violates it, leaves her bleeding and in pain, right? And at no point prior did the baby ask anything. At no point did the baby sort of let her know or inform her of what it's... No. And you might say, well, it's pregnancy. Like, no, don't care. He doesn't... There's no warning. Sometimes they're even born 2 months fucking premature. Or even worse, they're fucking born dead. And that's a real rapist. That's a dead rapist. He's dead. It doesn't matter if you do consent. He can't hear you. We are born and we die rapists. Nobody's ever committed a war. It's over rapeism. All the fucking... the majority of people in prison, the majority of people, world dictators, mass murderers, are all consenteists. In fact, I think we need to stop, really sort of looking into whether consenteeism is a mental disorder. And at the end of the day, I think the fact is, none of these people actually believe this shit. Look how many high-profile, top-ranked consenteists have been caught and exposed in the papers, for raping someone in the toilet or in down the local park behind a shrub. Oh yeah, because if we go, oh yeah, because you're a rapist, you're going to go to jail. Yeah, like jail exists. Or you're going to be tortured, or at least locked up probably until you die. The consenteists, they believe they're going to go to this wonderful place called Shaven Haven. Yeah, of course, like that's real. How long are you going to be there for? Couple of minutes. Okay, fine. What's the point? And all of you consentotards, right? At some point you have prodded someone. You've probably poked. You have violated someone's personal space, probably in an orifice or a mouth or something. And that's no different than what we do. You are rapeists too. We are all rapeists. It's just some of us rape one hole further. We also need to start a campaign to stop discrimination against people like us in the military, because there is anti-rapeist bills that have been passed. I'm specifically referring to, and we need to get them to repeal, do ask, don't rape. That is unfair, because what is the point? You look at the statistics, what is the point of joining the fucking US military if you don't occasionally let some steam off and gang rape one of the female soldiers? But it isn't just the consenteists that we need to go after, because the ones I'm really sick and tired of are all these people who just sit idly by, as we're having this debate, and they're all just nice, they're all sort of easygoing, and they refuse to pick a side. The fence-sitting, the people who say, and they say shit like, I'm not a consenteist or a rapeist. They say, I'm an asexualist. Like, no, you're not. You are either a rapist or a consenteist. You're not. You can't be anywhere in between. It's impossible. Because the definition of a consenteist is someone who actually, literally asks and gives consent, right? And as an asexualist, you don't actually ever ask or give consent because you don't want to have sex. So you are just, you're not an asexualist. You're just a weak, pussy rapist. You're a rapist with a small r. You're probably just one of them, you're like a closet subcon, or a crypto domcon. And before any of you fucking VD brigade come after me and accuse me of being a consentophobe, just let me make it clear, I don't hate consenteists. I hate consenteeism. And I know that they sound like the same thing, but they ain't. And don't try and ask me to explain how that works, because it just does. And if you are a closeted rapist, I urge you to come out. I urge you to come out and be proud of who and what you are. Because we are the rapeist movement. And the rapeist movement is something you should get behind, because you don't want to be in front of us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Richard Coughlin. Good night, and may knobs molest. Shall we have a song?
Everybody get up.
Hey, hey there. Hey, hey there. Hey, hey there. Yeah. So, listen. I don't give a shit what your mouth will say, 'cause your boobs are saying yes and my boner says okay. Bitch, please, I'm thunderfoot. Don't act like you don't know. I hear you, yes, yes, when you say no. Oh, I got a thunder boner. He wants to penetrate ya. GHB in your drink, oh, to heavily sedate ya. Up in my room I take ya, where I will violate ya. In all my jizz I'll cake ya. This isn't rape, it's just bad sex. Oh, you didn't want it. Oh, you never want it. Oh, you didn't want it, 'cause it's just bad sex. Hey there, I just met you. And you're feeling hazy? Yeah, well that's Rohypnol. Oh, so let's get rapey.